These organizations and groups in America, run by African American people, helping the African American community, don't take them lightly. These things are very powerful. These organizations are very, very powerful, and they're achieving great goals. In fact, I'm very pleased today to have on one of our guests as one who's been achieving this over 15 years. He's been doing some things in the community that when you talk with him today, you're going to take your hat off, as I did, about this hard work that's put in to shape the minds of our young people, to shape the minds and ideas and concepts, and use the history of our people as the basic foundation on which to build their future. Step into the future. I want you to help me bring on our guest today, Brother Kenyatta, and listen to his story.
Peace and blessing.
Answer the question. Yes, Brother Kenyatta.
Peace.
Come on.
Yes, peace and blessing, Brother Shahid, and also to all of your listening audience. Yes, you want to know a little bit about our program?
Yes. Tell us a little bit about what got your interest. What made you get interested in this? Where did it start? What set your fire? What tooled you to start this program or to work with this program?
Well, first of all, let me say that the STEP organization has been operating for approximately 15 years now. We started in the year 2000. STEP stands for Striving Together Equals Progress. And as you was just saying to the audience, I was listening in on you, we have to come together, we have to strive together in order to really make the type of progress that is really necessary to liberate ourselves. And that concept is why we brought this program together. We were listening to a lot of the reports in 2000. 2000 was a very rough year for the Newark area. It was almost 50 gang-related killings within a 4-month span. And as a result of that, me and 4 other brothers, got together, got kind of tired of hearing the talking, tired of hearing people just talk about the fact that this was going on. And we decided to sit down and organize a format so that we could address some of the issues that our young people was facing, and particularly our young black males. And so we started this organization. And we didn't want an average organization. We didn't want what we considered to be the status quo in terms of dealing with our children, because a lot of times we'll see that people are geared towards just really trying to get our children off the street. We somehow believe if we can just keep them off the street, that everything will be all right, or that if we can just get them to play sports, that might be their salvation. And in some cases, people believe that academics will save our children. If I can get them to get straight A's in school or A's and B's, he can go to a good college and everything will be all right. And all of those things, really have validity. The academics, the sports, I think they serve a place. However, we knew and understood that that wasn't enough. And so we drafted a program that really focuses on the culture as being the centerpiece. And as you know, in our culture, at the center of our culture is a spiritual consciousness. And that's our true culture. And so we emphasize culture when our young men come in the door. And then after we give them that firm understanding of the knowledge of themselves, then after that we go into an understanding of their contemporary reality. Because a lot of times we found that rites of passage programs will talk about culture and the pyramids, and, they give them an understanding of the greatness there was, but they don't show them how to tie that into what they're experiencing right now today. And so, therefore, the children kind of get lost in the past and not understand how they can use it for their present. And then the other element is how they can use it to plan and organize for their future, for our future, as a people, as a collective. And so these are some of the elements that we include within the STEP structure. And our premise in terms of our particular organization and how we deal with the children.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You mentioned the word culture. Could you give us a little? What are the elements that go into the cultural aspects of the program, the bringing about the culture? What happens?
Well, we define culture as the glue, as the bond. It's the mortar, if you will, between the blocks inside of the elements that you find inside of what you might say a group of individuals or a group of people, a nation, that which they practice. It's their food, it's their clothing, it's their music, it's their religions, it's their way of life. And in an African culture, if we examine it, we'll see that we had a foundation that was very spiritual. And so, as you see inside this society, they separate church from state, supposedly, prayer from schools. Everything is segmented. And as a result of that, the moral side, the values, are in many cases missing from the elements of society in which the children interact. And so in school they run wild because the discipline in many cases is missing, and then also the ideal of morals and values are in many cases missing also. It's not a part of the education process as much as just trying to learn math, trying to learn English, trying to learn, history or whatever the case may be. But in African culture, it's all connected. The center. So therefore, if you happen to be a person who's involved with politics in the traditional African culture at its best, then that means that you are still grounded in the morals and values of the nation, that which is considered spiritual, and therefore you look out for the people based on that which the way you would want to be treated yourself. Not just about money, but about that which is in the best interest of the people, which is in accord with the universal principles, And so this is the way the Creator works. And so therefore we want them to embrace the ideal of, creation, universe, family, brother, sister, elders, ancestors, all those concepts are very spiritual for us as African people, and so they're all connected. Same thing if an individual is a teacher. As you can see, sometimes we run into situations in school where the teachers are, they carry themselves sometimes worse than the children because they're not grounded. In many cases, they're not grounded in a moral, perspective. And I'm not going to say religion or religious because, everybody practice their own religions and everybody interprets religion the way they want. But spirituality is the core. That's the essence. And so, therefore, we want the children to understand that the spiritual side of our culture is what guides us. And we define spirituality as living in harmony, living in harmony with all of creation. We don't even want to step on a bug, unless we have to, And so, grounding them in that type of understanding, it causes them to want to embrace their brothers and their sisters rather than fight against them, rather than put on red and blue and attack someone because of turf or because of looking at them the wrong way. They instead want to embrace them, unify with them, just because of having a firm understanding of a culture and, where they come from, what the elements of our culture is, and getting them to not just see it, in terms of reading it or seeing a picture of the pyramid, but to really digest it, internalize it, and let it become a part of the way they think and act and speak and, sleep and eat, and it becomes who they are because of the concepts that are involved in them really embracing them and digesting them fully. So that's a big part of, that's the first course, actually, As soon as they come through the door, that's what they must deal with, culture. And then after that, we go on and teach several other courses. We have 6 central courses that we teach. Each one of them branch off into just about everything you can think of. I mean, we cover so much in STEP that it really we would never have enough time to go through it here. But we try to make sure that we use the culture as the foundation for everything else we teach, health and nutrition from our cultural perspective, leadership from our cultural perspective. Because, in this society, most of our children are looking for leadership inside media. They're looking for leadership in sports, athletes. They're looking for leadership in rappers, that they see on videos, entertainers that they see on television. And so they're looking for someone to embrace and to emulate. In many cases, is all the wrong places. So we help them to really understand what a true leader is. Not a system-created leader, not a media-created leader, but an actual leader. And so we define leadership for them and, with them so that they understand that being a leader just simply means that, you lead and guide others. But we help them to define what a black leader is, or an African leader, or an African-American leader, which just happens to be a person of that particular ethnicity or that particular race or that particular nationality that also leads and guides others. But then we help them define what we consider to be a true black leader. And see, now we're talking about one who believes in the total and unconditional liberation of our people, one who believes in self-determination, one who practices it, teaches it, and acts on that. And those are the type of individuals that now they have this litmus test. They have this way of looking at and saying, okay, well, wait a minute. I can no longer follow, this basketball player because he has all this money and speaker contracts and all this just because he's a basketball player, because he's not giving back to the community. He's disrespecting our women. You know what I'm saying? He's materialistic in his understanding of things, and so therefore I don't think I want to follow that. Now I want to be more selective. So I'll follow someone who may not be in the limelight, but they're out here working in the community, assisting us. They're doing things that are productive for our community. And so we have to teach our children how to distinguish, between, these things that sometimes traps them off and get them in left field way before they even get into their teens nowadays, And so these are the type of things that we cover in the program. It's very intense. Like I said, there's so much that it'll take me hours and hours to take you through some of this stuff. Well, some of it can be seen on our website, which is still in construction, but and our Facebook page. A lot of the projects and programs we do. But the health piece is something that, once again, from a spiritual, cultural perspective, our entire organization eats nothing but vegan food. The children, everyone, drink green juices. Nothing comes through the door that's not correct. All of our programs, our Kwanzaa programs, all of our celebrations, the things that we do, all of our functions have specially prepared food, by specially selected people in order to make sure that the dietary laws are, held in check. And also, we teach the children courses on this so that they understand why it is that we select our food the way we do, the benefits of it, and also the detriments of eating otherwise and living otherwise. And so, as well as courses on herbology, each one of the little brothers have books that they keep that have all of the various different healing modalities and, herbal treatments and things of that nature, because when we teach these young brothers, it's not a selfish thing. And we make sure they understand when you come into STEP, this is not just for you. You have to take this information back to the people. You have to take this information back to your families. And now you have been ordained as a teacher. And so what we tell them to do is, it's kind of like the ancient Kemetic, temples of learning, where, they went out into the village and get the young initiates and bring them in and teach them what they need to know in order to take them back out into the village, into the kingdom, so that they can lead the people. And that's our premise also. This is the model that we've put together. These young brothers, all of the things they need to know in order to function as not just individuals who could stay out of gangs and who may not go to jail. See, that's not, we don't consider that to be success.
Right.
And some people do. Some parents do. If I can just get him to graduate, or if I can just get him to go to college, that's not success for us. Success for us is, first of all, for this young brother to be able to survive. And then secondly, for him to be able to prosper in our community. And then third, for him to become a leader. See, that's what our people need now. We need leaders. And I'm talking about people who could help guide others by their actions, their deeds, as well as verbally help them to understand and have that ability to communicate. And so they deal with everything from public speaking so they can communicate properly, to helping them under the critical thinking courses. We have financial literacy, entrepreneurship, wealth building courses, and they understand economics. They understand we have to teach them that from a very young age so that they know and understand that we don't look at economics or money in the manner in which the European society does. We make that clear because it's easy to get confused. But we do understand the importance of it because we're not going to, like back in the 20s after, the Depression where rich white people lost all their money and they was jumping out of buildings, killing themselves. See, no, we don't want them to do that. We don't want them to think like that. And also we don't want them to think that you can justify selling another human being for money because of this need you have for wealth. And see, that's another European concept that was accepted as being okay. After all, these people weren't nothing but savages, they said. And see, we need to make sure that they understand that that's not us, not how we roll. So we need economics, but we don't kill for a dollar. We don't, put money before life. And so, therefore, they have a perspective to go into entrepreneurship, thinking not to be an entrepreneur or a business person that brings something into the community that may be very profitable for them, but that's not healthy and, proper for the community. For instance, we teach them that they sell should be something our people need and something that's beneficial to our people, not that helps to destroy them. So we don't teach them to open up fast food spots. We know those are very lucrative. We don't teach them to open up liquor stores. We don't teach them to open up, because if that's the case, then how are we going to justify them when they decide to, or how are we going to justify it when they decide to go out and sell drugs? Because after all, that's a business. And it's very lucrative, And so if your child says, well, what's the difference between the drugs that's killing our people and the fast food that's killing our people, or the liquor stores that's killing our people, and he can't see the difference once he starts to really think critically, and he say, well, wait a minute, this is a contradiction. So we don't want those contradictions. And so we let them know our people need food, they need clothing, they need shelter that we can provide for them. Things they really need. They need education, and they need supplemental education. So there's many different areas and fields and entrepreneurial areas that we can go into as a people and become very successful and therefore also benefit our community. And we make sure that they know that, because this society, it twists the spirits of our young people at a very early age, and they start to get in the position of wanting to sell their souls to the highest bidder. So we make sure that they have the foundation to not do that. Yes.
Speaking of age, what's the age? Where do they come in at? What age do you start this? What's the youngest? To one. Give me the range.
Well, at this time it's 5. We start at 5 and we go all the way up to 16, 17. Usually taking them right into college. Originally, when we started this program, we were operating somewhat from a traditional rites of passage format, which has to do with children going through a crossover at the time that they become young teenagers, around that 12-year-old mark, going into 13. That was considered by most, inside the rites of passage community, that this is the time when you get these young men, because that's when they're crossing over. Mm-hmm. But we very quickly analyzed that. After our studies and putting things together, we said, that's not going to work for us. Not inside this society right now. Because, you have people out there, brothers out there, sisters out there that's involved with the game out there in the street, and they're recruiting these young children almost as soon as they come out of diapers.
Right.
And literally allowing them to do everything from run packages across the street for them to stash stuff inside their clothes to their sneakers and this, or drop that off, I give you a few dollars. And so they're indoctrinating these young people, incorporating them into the drug game. Hold guns for them, go stash guns for them. And so we don't have the luxury of waiting till 12 years old. And so therefore, what we do is we start them at 5. We start them at 5 because that gives us a situation where they can at least come in and be attentive and pay attention, and they can, listen to directions and so on, So we take them any younger than that, it's kind of hard, We don't want to be changing. We don't want to be changing diapers in there, But we do want to be able to at least, put them in a group together, the young ones, so that we can teach them some of those things. And we have a very, very powerful, program even for young children, for the very young ones. We have a process called Street Smarts, where we take them out and show them how to cross streets properly. First a one-way, then a two-way, then a three-way street. And eventually they, crossing Broad Street downtown Newark. And we actually show them that you have to be able to do this, meaning stop at the corner, look both ways again, look at the red lights, see which cars are coming which way, be aware just in case somebody's going down the wrong street, all of these things, a lot of times our children are not taught, they just learn by hook or crook, in some cases with their life at stake, and so we actually have courses that teach the children those things, as well as hygiene, We give them, all the toiletries that they need in order to be hygienic, in order to wash themselves properly, in order to floss their teeth, in order to brush their teeth, this is a course where we do this with these young brothers so they understand the basic stuff. This is what we're supposed to do with our young ones. And then after that, we also, teach them about how to deal with strangers, people that approach them on the street, how to come inside their house and lock their door, how to lock your windows, how to make sure you look out for your parents, how to walk up to the car with your mother and make sure you look in it first, underneath it, to see whether or not something's wrong. All of these things are part of the process of a child becoming more proactive and therefore feeling like they have a purpose. They're belonging into this family. It's not just the mother telling them what to do or they're just getting up when she say get up, eat when she say eat, bathe when she say bathe. They're now feeling like they're a part of things, and they start to grow mentally, spiritually, at a much faster rate. And then, as they get a little older, we have other groups that, we have a program that takes it to another level. They're called USD, and that's the acronym for Urban Self-Defense. And the urban self-defense is a concept we came up with that has to do not just with the physical martial arts and things of that nature, because we teach that too, boxing, martial arts, grappling, self-defense in general. But it's really about knowing how to select your food to defend yourself from all aspects of the urban reality. Now, this is a process, a science that can be applied to any environment. But the urban reality is something that poses even more problems, for the people who live in the urban centers. And that's because the pollution levels are usually higher. The water, in many cases, is not as good. The food, and as you know, they got fast food on every corner. They have liquor stores on every corner. They have, bodegas, on every corner, and they also have, chicken shacks on just about every corner,
Right.
And even the food inside a lot of the supermarkets is not as good of quality as the food that you find inside of the other areas out on the outskirts. And so our people find themselves with higher categories of all preventable illnesses, everything from cancer to prostate cancer to breast cancer to heart disease to everything. All of these different illnesses that are technically considered preventable illnesses. Our ancestors didn't bring these types of illnesses with them when they came to these shores. These things are a direct result of the diet and the lifestyle. And, of course, a high level of stress that we contend with. And so we must teach our children. See, that's part of urban self-defense, because you teach them how to defend themselves from all of the elements of the urban reality, And so, therefore, it's a mind, body, and spiritual situation. And so, and so once again, that's the young men that are, a little bit older. And then we have young men that are a little older than that. They get into those teen years, all they want to talk about is girls and stuff like that. And I'm sure you remember that age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is a very, very powerful age. That's a very, very powerful age, because your hormones are jumping. You think you know everything. And every time your parents say something to you, you say, I know, sometime even before they tell you, And so that's a critical age for a lot of our young men, and it becomes a very destructive age when they want to experiment a lot. They want to experiment with drugs, they want to experiment with sex, they want to experiment with all these different things around them, because they feel like they're just about grown now. And so this is a time when we have to make sure that we are right there with them, guiding them through these different elements. But what makes that so essential in STEP is that in most cases we've already given them the foundation. So it's not like they're starting from scratch, because a lot of these young brothers, STEP it starts in January, goes through July, and then July through December. So it's 2 sessions per year, but we're all year round. We don't take no breaks. And it's been like that for 15 years. No breaks. No breaks. Because, as you know, out in the streets, the drug dealers don't take no breaks. Yes.
That's right. Now, what I wanted to ask you about the kind of field trips you take. But how is this program? Is it an after-school program, morning, afternoon? How does it operate? Where is operation? Time of operation.
Right now, we're based at 84 Clinton Place, right in Newark. That's between I think it's West Runyon and Clinton Avenue. Right in the heart.
Right.
And the hours, we meet every Friday from 5:30 to 9.
Okay.
3.5 hours, intense from the time they walk through the door. And then we also do field trips on specific weekends. We let the parents know ahead of time which weekends we're going to be going places and doing things. Usually the field trips tie into the curriculums, something related to an extension of the curriculums themselves. So if we're dealing with economics, we may take them around to the various communities and show them the difference between our community and the other communities. We might take them to the Portuguese section in Ironbound. We might take them to Chinatown. We might take them to Little Italy in New York. We take them up north to the Latino community, and we show them how they patronize each other, and how they pool their resources. We show them the difference, and then we bring them back to our community so they can see what we're talking about. Because sometimes, if you ain't never left, never left your community, you don't really understand, And so we go through those type of field trips, hands-on types of field trips, and then during the course of the week, because once again it's every Friday, during the course of the week we do outreach. We communicate with the parents, we interact with the children on a regular basis. We're basically on 24-hour call. 24-hour call through the outreach process. Most of the parents, most of the families that we deal
Hello? Hello? Mm. I think Brother Kenyatta. I think Brother Kenyatta might have dropped off. Let me just see if we can get him back. Okay, I see his
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we have you now. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what happened. Got cut off there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what I was saying, I was just explaining something to you. I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, you were talking about the parents and how you work with you.
Right.
And
yes.
And,
yes. A very large percentage. It's estimated right now in the black community, maybe 70% of the families, in some cases a little higher, are being raised just the female, fending for herself. Sometimes the man may be in and out, and sometimes he may not be there at all. And so these brothers are basically being raised by women, grandmothers, aunts, big sister. And you can see it. You can see that in them, because when we were growing up, everybody had a father.
Right.
Every family had a father. And if one didn't, which was very few, then people would look out for him still, the other fathers.
Right.
And so we don't have that now, and so therefore we find ourselves playing surrogate father through the outreach process. So we may deal with school teachers. We may, parents keep us abreast of their grades. They keep us abreast of different problems that they're having. If they need to talk about girls or whatever, we're the ones they communicate with, primarily.
Okay.
And then we tie also the courses into some of the things they deal with also.
Okay. Kenyatta, I want to open up the line.
Yes.
Kenyatta, I want to open up the line. I know we've been talking a while here. If any of you have any questions, I'm sure Brother Kenyatta would answer your questions. If you have any questions, please just push the number 1 on your phone, and then you'll be able to ask your questions. And Brother Kenyatta will be more than happy to answer your question. We have at area code 724. Area code 724.
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Your program sounds so needed. And I was just wondering, have you marketed, or are you thinking about marketing your curriculum so that it can be duplicated in other cities and towns and states?
That's the magic question. We've been asked that a few times, and we are in the midst of putting together a program manual that can be duplicated and used, as well as, as you said, kind of packaging a lot of the curriculums. It's so much stuff, and so much that we're dealing with. And so sometimes we're so hands-on doing so much, it's very hard to really work on that side of the equation. Matter of fact, we don't even do any marketing, not any real marketing of our program. If we did, we would probably be overwhelmed to the extent that it just wouldn't be room, because all of the children that we have now has basically been word of mouth for 15 years, just from the sisters talking about the program. And so, so basically the ideal of duplication and the ideal of packaging and all those things, we see that as something we'll do as we move further into the future. But we are an organization that's really about the people. It's really about the people. So if someone communicates with us, which we've had situations where people communicate with us and they ask, could we assist in them starting a Rites of Passage program, we'll send them what we have, and we'll assist whatever we can, because it's really about trying to get this type of effort wherever we can get it inside of all of these cities where our people are, because we all have the same situation, the same problems with the youth, same problems with the administrations in charge, the schools, and, everywhere we find our people. And so we will help whatever way we can, within our time frames and limitations. But eventually, yes, that's what we plan on doing. We plan on having, manuals for everyone from the parents to the people who volunteer to the children themselves, as well as program structured layout so that people, even the video, so that people be able to see hands-on what we do, as well as workshops. And so we want to actually open the facility on certain days so that we can actually have people come in, do workshops for starting and maintaining this type of program, and also have certifications for that process. And so, because...
And I was also wondering, do the family... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead, sister.
Do the families contribute financially to the program?
Yes. Actually, when we started this program, our goal, we had some lofty goals. We had some very lofty goals, And so our purpose was for a group of brothers to get together, hook up with some more brothers, and create this cadre of strong black men that was willing to come out of their pockets and make this thing happen so that the children, the families wouldn't have to pay anything. And that because our target group was the ones who needed the most. I mean, we weren't necessarily trying to draft this program for the ones who lived, if you know the Newark area, the ones who lived in Livingston and the ones who lived in the middle-class families and upper-middle-class families. We were drafting this program for the ones who lived in the heart of the urban centers, the projects, the ones who looked on the welfare, the ones who really needed it the most. And because those were the ones that were falling through the cracks. Those were the ones that was really, being totally. And so, therefore, we drafted it at first free. But as time went on, we seen that we had to ask for something in order to keep ourselves going. And so what we ended up doing is asking the parents for $10 a month. And that is $60 for a 6-month program, and so which is unheard of. And not only that, but for the type of program that we have, the parents could never pay for it. They could never pay for a program like this, I mean, you don't even. It's impossible to find a program like this that wouldn't cost thousands of dollars for a child to attend,
You're right.
So therefore, So and that's why it's such a need for duplication, because we can't continue to allow the substance of the program to be dictated by whether or not a parent can pay, whether or not they have money, or whether or not they're in a situation, because that's the reason why we see such a strong, what people call underclass of individuals out here inside drugs, dealing with all of this chaos in and out of the prison system, because they're not getting what they need, mentally, physically, and spiritually. The school system is not the answer, especially the public school system, charter schools. This is not the answer. They're not going to teach our children. They're not going to teach our children to liberate themselves. They're not going to, that's not the purpose. It's really they're engaging in the prison, the school to prison pipeline. That's the purpose, to fill up the prisons, to make sure they continue to make money. And so, yes. But to answer your question, sister, yes, that's something that, we definitely want to do. We want to duplicate this thing, and we want to continue to keep the price as low as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's really, a good thing that you're also teaching the students and the parents where to spend our money. We're going to get the greatest benefit. And a lot of times, even though they're economically deprived, we can still make sacrifices to get that money, because the return is going to be so much greater.
Definitely.
So
I agree.
Thank you. That it's a beautiful. It sounds like a beautiful program. And when I come to that area, I'm going to try to come so I can come and visit you all on a Friday. The other part is, I know this is the focus on the males. Is there a comparable program for females?
But that's part 2 of the magic question, sister. Because it's understandable for you to ask that question, because it's asked so often by our sisters, and particularly because just about every young man that's in our program have a sister. Yeah. And the parents love the program so much, the first thing they say is, do you have a female version of STEP? And sadly, we don't. And not only do we not have a female version of STEP, there's very few programs out here that are African-centered, that are holistic to young black women, who are actually at this point throughout the United States and all the urban areas the fastest growing prison population right now.
Yes, it is.
You know, young black women.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, but here we are, men, of course, trying to deal with these young brothers, because the men have to deal with the brothers. And it's hard to get the sisters to get together and be able to do the same thing. And they face a lot of the same challenges that we faced in the beginning and that we continue to face right now. But that comes back to the brothers once again. And I talk about this to the brothers because in African tradition, the queen was on the throne. And the brother's job was to protect her, to create an environment that was conducive to her doing what she needs to do and being her best.
Yeah.
And right now, we as black men are not doing that. So therefore, it's very, very, very hard, even harder than it is for us, for black women to have a secure place, secure that place on a regular basis, pay for that place, as well as come and structure, you know, an organization that would deal and cater to black women, when at the same time they're trying to work and raise a family. In many cases, the men are nowhere around. You know, they're not getting the assistance. Like I said, it's upwards of 70% of the households are being raised by the women. And now, along with cooking and cleaning and providing for the children and doing all these other things, we're asking her to run a rites of passage program.
Right.
And so these are some of the dilemmas that we deal with. But once again, see, that's where the men come in, because when men get back on the scene and do what they're supposed to do, then that frees the sisters up so that they can engage in other activity in a more, you know, direct way. And so it's really an indictment not on the sisters in any way. It's an indictment on us as a community, but in particularly the men for not being on the square and doing their jobs so that the women could come forth and do what they need to do more effectively. Because even if sisters did have a place, who's going to secure it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the heart of the urban community. You know, people are dying like flies. Who's going to secure that place? You still need the men. The men are supposed to secure it and make sure that the women have a healthy environment for which doing that work that they need to do. And see, that's where we come in again, because our whole premise is to raise a new generation of those men that we're talking about. You know, that's what we're doing, and we're trying to raise them as fast as we can, sister. You know, we're trying to raise them as fast as we can. We just had a few graduate from Howard University. You know, we got others that went to school this year. We constantly. You know, we got others that started their own businesses, others that around the country have started their own programs, you know.
Great.
We got boys, all the young men on the way to law school. We got, you know, and all of them know their culture and know who they are, and they pledge their allegiance back to the black community, not just getting, you know, enough knowledge to get, you know, a degree and then make a lot of money and then go live inside, you know, Upper Beverly Hills somewhere and you know, marry a white woman and fly off into the sunset, you know.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing, you know, and so these young men are giving back, and so, you know, but our ultimate goal is to structure ourselves, because we don't have a building of our own. We're actually functioning within another structure, a stable structure, but yet another structure that's not ours. And so our goal is, you know, we have a building fund that we created, and we're trying to get to the point that we can have a structure that we can use anytime we need to. And then at that point, our plan is to bring in some sisters. We have some beautiful, intelligent, conscious sisters in our circle.
Hello?
Lost him again.
I think he dropped again. Okay. Well, he's back. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, got you.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm back, brother. I don't know what's going on with the line, but seems like I'm able to get back pretty fast. But what I was saying, is the sister still there?
Yes,
yes, still here.
Yes. What I was saying is that the plan.
Tell him what part of the country you're from. So.
I'm from I'm from an old steel town in western Pennsylvania, Sharon, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
what's Pennsylvania?
Yeah, community where I do some volunteer work. We're in need of some programming for exactly some kind of program that you're talking about, because we have all the things that you said that we have that problem in our community there. And we're trying to do, like both parts, to have the males and the females. So I'll probably be getting in touch with you that maybe you can give us some suggestions for programming, because a lot of times when you get grants and stuff, they want you to include a program that's well established, where you have, outcomes and you can show results. They'll actually help some of the grants pay for the curriculum. That's why I asked that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, okay. Western Pennsylvania. Matter of fact, we have, I think, 2 of our parents come from Pennsylvania down to our program every week. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, see, that's the good thing, showing that the program is something that people consider valuable, but it's the bad thing in the sense that we shouldn't have to travel that far in order to get to a program for our youth that we consider viable. And so that's another thing that we have to change. We have to, just like what you're saying, you see the need there, and so do other parents, people from Brooklyn. People come away from Brooklyn to our program, from Central Jersey, from the New Brunswick area, West and South Brunswick, Roselle, Rahway. So it's not just the children in Newark that's in this program. And the other thing is that, as I said earlier, the program was drafted for those who have the least. But as soon as those who had money started to see it, and they said, wow, where did this come from? And for this price, now we have children from all over the place.
Okay.
Our children from all over the place that all have the same problems.
Yeah.
That all have the same problems and same issues, regardless of their income status. And so, so that's the reality of what we're dealing with. Matter of fact, yes.
No, I'm just saying.
Yes, we're saying yes.
The lines are open, so if any of you have any other questions for Brother Kenyatta, just push the 1 on your phone, and we'll open the conversation up with everyone. Now, Sister Gail, do you have any more questions? Are you finished?
No, I don't. Thank you, Brother Kenyatta. And I wish you continued success in your program. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Sister. Much appreciated.
Okay, now, when parents, hold on 1 minute. We have a caller at 973.
Good evening, Brother Kenyatta.
Yes, peace and blessings.
Peace to you, my brother. Brother Kenyatta, I wanted to know what do you have for enrollment? Is there a special time for enrollment for the students?
I didn't quite hear your question. You said
I want to know the times for enrollment. Is it seasonal, or is there a special time that you take new students?
Oh yes, our program is actually we start in January and we go through July. That's one session, 6 months, and then we go from July to December. And so it's 6 month sessions. It's all year round. And we're actually registering now for the new session that will actually start in this coming January, the first week of January. And so for people who would like to register their children, we ask that they go to the website, and I can give everyone the address. It's pretty simple. STEP, STEP, that's STEP, STEPTO the Future. So that's like steptothefuture.org. And from that website, you'll be able to get, all the information about the program, and also our contact information, Facebook page, so you can really see the program. And then if a person is interested in putting their child in this type of program, we ask that they email us through the contact page, and we'll send them the registration form.
Okay.
And all they have to do is fill it out, 3 pages, basic information about the child, notarize the last page, and then contact us, and we'll make arrangements to start the child. We ask parents, it's best to get them in. Get them in because sadly, this is the only program of this nature in this area that I know of, and in most areas that I know of. And that's because of the, all of the time and effort and, curriculums and drafting and everything that we put into this structure. And as a result of that, and also having brothers that live it themselves. See, that's the other thing, So we're really putting ourselves into this program, because everybody, we have 7 brothers that are all volunteers, by the way. And they're everything from businessmen to, they all are vegetarians. They all are very much into physical fitness. They all are very spiritual brothers, family-oriented brothers. So they bring what they are to the program, and so that makes it very special. And as a result of that, people see what we do, they feel what we do, and so the numbers are increasing. So we suggest to people to fill out the application, get online to make sure that they get in, because it's really on a first-come, first-served basis.
Okay. If a family has more than one child that they would like to register, is there any special accommodations for that? Because the young lady that I have in mind have 3 sons up to age that you mentioned. And I'm certain she would want all of them in there if it was possible.
So, yes.
I mean, I think it's doing considering, the income that you have in certain areas. It's reasonable. But,
yes, the program is very reasonable. Actually, the program is for 15 years. The program was $60 for the entire session, which was six months. The fee will be $80 for the entire 6 months, starting January. We were forced to adjust it because of all of the different things, trips, everything that we do. And it was just impossible for the brothers to commit so much financially to making this thing go. And the program doesn't get formal funding from the city or the state or the federal government or anything like that at this time, because part of that is for a lot of reasons, I think, but part of it is because we're a very, very progressive program. And we're not the type of programs they jump on in terms of funding. But for the second child, there is a discount. The third child, there is a discount. So every child after the first one does get a discount.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So it is discounted, And so we have quite a few parents, matter of fact, that have more than one child in the program. Matter of fact, we have a whole lot of families in the program, I would probably say about 5 or 6 that have dual, brothers in the program. Yes, so.
So I truly believe this program is important because these boys need role models, and a lot of times, like you said, they're single-parent homes, and then some of the fathers are under bad influence themselves. And so it's, we see, so much death and destruction in this area of the young boy. And so it's so needed. We want to get these, talk to the young lady to get these boys registered there for that. And I want to say that I had the opportunity to come to one of the graduation ceremonies. I think it was maybe your second year. And I was extremely impressed. And the young men that graduate, they were so mature for their ages after coming through the program. It was just a great thing to see. The other thing, like you were saying, that some of the students now are going to Howard University and businessmen, and that was going to be my question, but you did answer that, and I was glad to hear that, because from looking at the boards and listening to the way they spoke, they seemed that they were heading in that direction. So I'm glad to hear that you're being successful with that program, and pray God that you continue to be blessed in that area. And I thank you for giving me that information, and I will share it.
Okay, and once again, they can go to the website, steptothefuture.org, and everything could move through there.
Okay. Thank you so much for the comment. You have a blessed evening.
You too, Sister. Peace.
That's very powerful program and valuable information that you sharing with us today. The idea of this holistic kind of approach to raising or having young men go through the rite of passage is a wonderful process, and you incorporated it. I say correctly incorporated, because as you say, it's so separated in the general society that these things are separated. One part of education is for one thing and one for another. But the way you have incorporated it to make it all compatible with life, it's a wonderful thing. How did you just come up with you spoke about how you came to the idea. Was it just a period of time? Each thing you added one part, then you decided to add another part, and was it piecemeal, or did you lay it out all at once?
Well, it's definitely an evolution. The beauty of it is that we have these 6 courses that I mentioned, and from those 6 courses, which were drafted in the very beginning, but from those 6 courses, they all continue to evolve, because those particular courses, it's almost like endless information that you can put as build with on those courses. When you talk about health, it's not just the ideal of diet. You're talking about physical fitness. You're talking about herbology. You're talking about fragrance-ology. You're talking about aromatherapy, massage therapy. You're talking about color therapy. You're talking about so many different things when you talk about health. And so, therefore, it allows us to continue to evolve each session, into so many different areas that these brothers need. Same thing when we talk about spirituality, most people associate it with, of course, religion, but, we talk about, everything from the spiritual nature of struggle, the spiritual nature of providing for your community, spiritual nature of treating the black woman like a queen, the spiritual nature of, and so as a result of that, the course evolves constantly, and so, but we tie it into that core course and core curriculum. And so as well as culture. Culture, yes.
What are the 6 courses? I know you say it's too much to explain all at once, but can you give us maybe just name the 6 courses and maybe give us a little brief of each one? A little brief. A couple sentences.
Well, yes. Once again, we start off with the culture. And in culture, what we try to do is help our children understand fully, that which was in terms of our history and the greatness of our ancestors, but also that's which is still taking place today, because our culture is still evolving. And we want to make sure they know and understand that, but we want them to attach to the true culture as opposed to this twisted form of culture that they sometimes associate with as being our culture,
Right.
Because if you ask the average young man what culture is, they'll say hip-hop culture,
Right.
Because they've never been taught culture. And so, therefore, we help them to understand what the true culture is and that which hip-hop evolved from, at its best. At its best, not some of that stuff we hear out here, but the best of it. And so And then after that, we go into spirituality. Once again, they're one and the same because spirituality is at the center of our culture. But at the same time, we teach it as a separate course because we want the young people to have a firm understanding of what it means to live in harmony, what it means to live in harmony. And that means with everything around you, regardless of differences, regardless of territory, regardless of whatever the case may be, and how we have to strive towards that. That's that Kemetic philosophy that we find in the practice of Ma'at, Ma'at. And so we show them how that ties into our culture. In the Kemetic society, they had a philosophy called Ma'at, which had to do with justice and equality and respect and truth and, all of these concepts. And so that's what we help them to understand. And then from there we go into science, but the science has to do with, once again, the science of politics, for instance, where we teach them not, the House of Representatives and the Senate and, all that kind of stuff. What we do is teach them how politics tie into the black community, how we apply politics to the black community, how we solicit individuals who want to, for instance, go into politics as young people, and how we train and mold them and guide them, and then how our economic structure, which is, of course, also help to fund them. In other words, we put them in office, not the corporate structure. So, therefore, they pledge their allegiance to us, and then also establishing accountability procedures so that if a person go inside office and then they turn their backs on their community, that there's an accountability procedure in place. See, that's how other communities do. Other communities make sure that they have a whole political process in place so that the politics come back to them. All of the benefits of the politics come back to them. They look out for each other first and foremost. And so that's something that we have lost when it comes to the political structure. We ended up getting in there, and whoever funded us the most, that's who we pledge our allegiance to. And in most cases, black people are not organized in order to fund everybody that wants to run for office. So therefore, IBM does it. McDonald's does it, or someone else. And so therefore they pledge their allegiance to whatever those individuals want and are concerned with. And so we get kicked to the curb. And so we help them to understand the science of that, and then also the science of a true education as opposed to miseducation, because I'm sure you're familiar with Brother Naeem Akbar.
Yeah.
Yes, Brother Naeem Akbar. I remember him years ago listening to him and him breaking down what true education was, and he talked about the first four letters, EDUC, and how that means to pull out rather than to put in, And so in this society, education is indoctrination. They want to tell you what to think, tell you what to read, and then you just have to regurgitate it and memorize it and therefore be able to regurgitate it. And so therefore, in true education, it's really about stimulating the mind to think critically, analytically, so that you're able to think for yourself and also provide for yourself, build for yourself, And so that's something that's not being done. They're teaching our children how to be employees, and also how to be consumers. And so therefore, other people are teaching their children how to be employers, business people, and also how to be the one selling to the consumers. And so therefore, we need them to understand the science and how it actually operates. And then after that, we go into health and nutrition. I told you how that works, and so we get into all aspects of that. And then the final course is leadership. And in leadership, we cover just about everything. I mean, all aspects of leadership, all aspects of being able to provide for family, being able to raise your family, being able to assist in the community and the development of the community, all aspects of doing the things that's necessary in order to secure the environment for which the family, the women, the elders, and the children could be their best selves. And so that's the core, the core of the curriculums. And in those, once again, in those curriculums, they branch out into a little bit of everything, because they're constantly evolving. Yes, and we do a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a lot of structured, formats and projects, as well as a lot of field trips that tie in also to those curriculums. And so, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff we do, and we're very creative with it, and also we tie tie it into their reality so it applies to things that they have to deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Brother Kenyatta.
Yes.
The health aspect of the program, you were speaking of holistic health and aromatherapy and the different modalities that we use to keep a balance of our health and healing. I was wondering, as far as your facilitators for that particular, those programs, are they all males that facilitate, or do you have sisters at any time come in? The reason I'm saying that because I'm a holistic practitioner myself, and I would love to, any available time that I could volunteer to come in and you go over some of the modalities with the boys. It would be good for them as well as for me. It would be a way that I could give back. So I was wondering if you do have sisters take part in it at any time.
Not in this particular program. This is actually a male rites of passage program. So in traditional African,
Sound like you dropped again.
Okay.
You dropped again. Why his phone keep dropping? Okay, we have another caller, and I'm gonna bring some of the other callers in as soon as he gets back. Area code 914. We'll bring you in a minute, but we just want to make him come back as soon as he come back online. I think he's back now. Hold on.
Yes, sir.
You back there, Kenyatta? Okay,
yes,
good.
these lines are. I don't know who's in control up there, but somebody's trying to cut us off. So.
Well,
but,
it can't stop progress. So they can try, but
right.
They can't stop progress. But look, the sister was asking you a question, and you was answering it about this is a male program. But could you continue that, and so she can see if you answer her question?
Yes.
Can answer.
Yes, what I was saying is that, in traditional African culture, the men take the young boys away. And just like the women take the young ladies away, it's not in any way a macho thing or something that deals with, women not being able to participate inside functions, because this is the only time that we do that in the actual structure of the program when we're normally teaching. But then all of our other functions, it's family, and so it's everybody involved. But our young men are being exposed to the women consistently. Most of them are being raised by women. Most of them only have the mothers or the grandmothers or the aunts or the big sisters taking care of them, as well as inside the schools. The majority of the teachers are women, and particularly white women. And so what we find is that the young brothers are not being exposed to males, and particularly strong examples of manhood. And so, therefore, this program is geared towards them being exposed to men so that they have a firm understanding that men, in fact, do exist, and they have some type of, examples that they could emulate. And so, but on the other hand, that's what the sister earlier was talking about, the fact of the need for female rites of passage programs and women to actually run those programs so that they can help also teach these young women what's necessary in order to be intelligent, strong, productive, also members of the African family. And so, so that's kind of how it's based in terms of who's in front of the children.
Right. Well, I'm grateful that they do have that male image before them. And, bringing to mind of sisters should begin this type of thing. And possibly when we organize, we can sit with you and get a structure on how it should go, because it's so needed for the young ladies as well. So thank you for answering me sufficiently, and I'll bid you peace again.
Okay, thank you, and peace to you, sister.
Okay, area code 914. You're on.
All right. Thank you. I hope I can be understood. I was at the dentist today and had some extractions a few hours ago, so I'm just trying to. I wanted to say congratulations to Brother Kenyatta for helping to get our community, people up to another level, and that is, we had a big struggle to get our people to stop saying Negro, to say black. And we had another struggle to get them to stop saying black and African Americans. Now that's why I'm saying thank you for the effort you're making tonight. You came on saying children and not kids. We've been trying to struggle with our people at all levels, all ages, all economic areas to stop saying kids. So I think you're doing a great help. But you start saying children. You never said that's but children all night. So thank you for that. I'll get off now.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Well, we're sort of coming down to the finish line here. So those of you who do have some questions, you need to ask your questions now because we're going to the finale of the show. But Brother Kenyatta, it seems as though we're getting calls from different parts of the country, and those calls seem to say that there's a need for the program that you're doing in their area, and also there's a need. It sounds to me there's a need for a sister program similar, just like the one you have for sisters, for women. I think that that need is coming fast because the more of this get out about what you're doing, I think that's going to make the parents be more adherent and aggressive to the idea of educating their children in this holistic manner. It's a big program. It's a huge program. In fact, I know you in one area, but this is tremendous. This is education at its finest. Now, could you give us a sort of sum up the importance and what you feel as though the importance of this program is and its impact that it's having on the community, and how, and most of all, how people can get in touch with you? Let me get one more. Before you start that answer, let's take one more question over here. Area code 404.
How you doing, brother? Peace and blessing.
Yes, how you doing, brother?
To you, brother.
Peace and blessings to you as well. My name is Rakib Basir out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm with the Imam Warfdi Muhammad leadership in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm 35 myself. Me and a couple of other brothers in Atlanta, Georgia, we go out and we talk to the community about the oneness of God and to spread unity throughout our communities in Atlanta, Georgia. Our objective is to be able to help each other as African Americans in prosperity and peace and harmony. We've been doing this for me myself. I've been involved with Brother Akbar for quite some time, probably almost a year now. I think almost a year or 2 years now. My question to you is this Brother Abdullah?
Yeah, I'm the host, but
okay.
I'm the host.
This is Brother Kenyatta.
Kenyatta
okay.
is the one show is on the show today.
Okay. What effect are we really trying to bring to America to the African American. This is my question. What's the effect that we're trying to bring to America to help America uplift itself out of this oppression that we have got our own selves into, as in our African American communities?
Okay, if I understand him correctly, he's talking about the whole picture of the African American people. Brother Kenyatta, can you explain that as to what your impact that you having on the impact of what you're doing?
Well, I think that our position here in this country is no different from our position worldwide. We are African people. We call ourselves African American because we happen to be in this particular geographical area. And then we have those who call themselves Afro-Caribbean because they're living and based in the Caribbean. And some they call themselves Afro-European or Afro, what have you. But in reality, we're African people whose ancestors was taken all over the world. And so therefore, if we analyze things closely, we see that we all have the same exact issues that we're trying to deal with. That is a European colonial or even slavery history. And therefore, the impacts of that, the historical implications of that, and the residual effect of that is the same. It's just that it adjusts or changes just a little bit according to where you are. And so we teach our children from the perspective of not only what's happening here in the States or what's happening inside the projects inside Newark, but we teach them in regard to our international reality. So they know and understand what happened in Libya not too long ago when the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi. They understand what's happening right now inside of Zimbabwe with President Mugabe. They understand that inside of South Africa, Britain controls 90% of the mineral wealth and that the people are struggling to survive. And so they have to understand that the same people, right, who control the wealth in this country, that 1% also controls the wealth of the world. And so our struggle is international. And when our children have a broader perspective than that which is right in their own backyard, then it helps them see that this thing is bigger. This thing is bigger than what they see outside of their window. The drugs that they see inside of their community, it touches them very personally because they see their brothers and their cousins and their mother in some cases getting locked up or either caught up on these drugs. But at the same time, if they analyze where the drugs come from, they'll see that in Afghanistan, the same country that the military is in, the United States military is in, a large percentage of the poppy seeds come from that country, are grown in that country. The same one that we are protecting, here from this country, military people from this country. And so, the military, the CIA, this government is involved with a lot of the things that we experience in the heart of the urban community, and they always was, just like they are internationally. So we have to put things in context, and we have to help our children understand that. So, yes, we teach them about the history and the reality and the things that they have to deal with as supposed, as so-called African Americans. But at the same time, we teach them of the larger struggle of African people worldwide. And we think that that's the true understanding that they need in order to liberate themselves and our people.
Answer your question, brother?
A little bit. But I thank you. Y'all continue doing good work. And if you're ever in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're in the West End area, Ralph David and Lee Street at 4:00. We're always right there, and look forward to seeing you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
You have a peace and blessed day. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. And may Allah continue to bless you.
Thank you, as you too as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brother Kenyatta, we are coming down to the end. I want you to make sure that we understand how we can get in touch with you. I think most of the listeners have been on long enough to understand the value of your program, what you have achieved with it, and what it can do possibly in their neighborhood. Now, give us the information on how we can get in touch with you and how we can get our children involved with you, or how we can get this program duplicated in another part of the country. So give us that, please.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a challenge. We hope to first of all, at square one, through our building fund, which anyone who wants to donate to that building fund that would like to help us get this thing off the ground at another level, could go to our website and they could donate through that website. But our plan is to get the building structured so that we can finalize everything from the curriculums to the projects to even the workshops that we do, and start using that building as a teaching tool for others who would like to come into workshops and actually learn all of the various elements that we are using as teaching tools for our children in order to run a program like this, in order to start as well as run a program like this. And so the ideal is not necessarily to duplicate STEP into different areas of the country, but to teach other brothers and sisters, to guide other brothers and sisters, to assist other brothers and sisters to be able to establish their own programs that have the holistic cultural approach for our children. And so, if STEP, becomes duplicated and under the name of STEP, so be it. Maybe, the creator, the ancestors in control, but not necessarily our goal as much as it is to duplicate the efforts, to duplicate the philosophy, to duplicate that which is, at the core, that's really not ours. It's not ours. We borrowed it from the ancestors. The ancestors had already laid this out. The creator, ordained us, and the ancestors sanctioned it. They put their stamp on it because we abided by the principles, the philosophy that they had already given us, in the most righteous way that we could. And so we're just sharing that. We're willing to share that. And we're willing to put it out there and assist people where we could, because we have to find as many ways as we possibly can to get to these young brothers and sisters. And, there's no way that STEP could do it. The problem is too big. There's no way that STEP could even at this point deal with what we see taking place right here in Newark by themselves. So we need, Newark has wards all over. I mean, Newark is very big, and so, we just happen to be based in the South Ward, but then you have the North Ward, East Ward, West Ward, and so in reality, there should be programs of this nature in every ward, and so therefore, it's definitely the type of situation where we need people to come forth and do what's necessary in order to structure programs wherever they are, that have, number one, the cultural element. We must teach them knowledge of self. Number two, we must teach our children the truth about their contemporary reality. They must know the truth. We've got to stop lying to them. People want to lie to our children and claim that, no, we don't want to tell them the truth because they're going to get violent. We don't want to tell them the truth because they're going to get upset. They're already violent, and they're already upset because we're not telling them the truth. We're not guiding them properly. And then also the third thing is that we must teach them how to organize and plan for their future and our future as a people. Because if a man and a woman do not have any stake in things, if they don't feel as though they have any future in this thing, then they're always feeling like they want to go for broke. Mm-hmm. It's all about me. It's all about self, because they don't see themselves in the future. And we have to make sure that they do. And they make sure that they know that they have to pledge their allegiance to their people and help to uplift them in this struggle. And so
that's wonderful.
That's where we're coming from with it.
That's absolutely great. And we thank you so much, Brother Kenyatta, for coming on and giving us this valuable information, number one. and also exposing us to what you're doing in terms of how you're helping our community to grow and develop.